Welcome to Dolphin Dive Daily, your go-to spot for everything Miami Dolphins. If you bleed aqua and orange, hit that subscribe button and join the pod. Alright guys, buckle up, because we've got some serious news out of Miami, and it's the kind that's going to make Dolphins fans either roll their eyes or sigh in disbelief. According to a brand new report from NFL insider Jordan Schultz, Miami Dolphins owner Stephen Ross is not looking to move on from head coach Mike McDaniel anytime soon. Yeah, you heard that right. Despite all the noise, all the struggles, all the tension that's been bubbling up around this team, Ross is standing by his guy, at least for now. And that might surprise a lot of people who were expecting this season to end with a pink slip and a brand new coaching search. Now, Schultz's report dives into some of the dysfunction that's been brewing down in South Florida, and it's not a pretty picture. The Dolphins, who came into this season with high hopes and playoff expectations, have fallen way short of the hype. The offense has looked out of sync, the defense can't seem to stay healthy or consistent, and the locker room vibe, well, let's just say it's starting to sound more like a reality show than a football team. But here's the big takeaway from Schultz's piece. Ross isn't ready to make a move. He's not pulling the trigger, not hitting that panic button that so many fans are demanding he hit. Let's rewind a bit. Just last August, Ross gave McDaniel a contract extension, a deal that's supposed to keep him in Miami through the 2028 season. So, from Ross's perspective, firing McDaniel now would be not only a financial mess, but also an admission that the entire plan, the whole vision he sold to fans just a year ago, has fallen apart. We're talking millions in buyout money, a new coaching search, more instability, and that's not exactly something an owner in his 80s wants to deal with mid-season. Ross has always been known for loyalty, sometimes to a fault, and it looks like that loyalty is what's keeping McDaniel safe right now. McDaniel's record as Dolphins head coach stands at 29-30. That's about as middle of the pack as it gets. It's not terrible, but it's definitely not the kind of record you hang a banner for, especially when you've got a team built to win now. The Dolphins have invested heavily in talent, from Tua Tagovailoa to Tyreek Hill to Jalen Waddle, and yet, something just isn't clicking. It's one thing to lose to elite teams like Kansas City or Baltimore, but when you start dropping games you're supposed to win, that's when the alarm bells go off. And let's be honest, the pressure is mounting. Reports from other insiders, like Ian Rappaport and Adam Schefter, have already hinted that Ross's patience isn't infinite. If the Dolphins keep losing, and if Hard Rock Stadium starts to look a little emptier on Sundays, that could be the breaking point. The business side of football always finds its way into these conversations. It's not just about wins and losses. It's about ticket sales, fan engagement, TV ratings, and overall brand energy. When that starts slipping, even the most loyal owner starts to feel the squeeze. Now, here's where things start to sound even more concerning. Schultz also revealed that several players in the Dolphins' locker room are feeling disconnected, that the team, from top to bottom, is lacking unity and alignment. That's huge, because when players start talking like that, and especially when they're comfortable enough to share it with the media, it means something deeper is wrong. These aren't the usual, we need to execute better, kind of comments. These are signs of fractures, of mistrust, of players not believing in the system or the leadership above them. That's the kind of stuff that can derail a season faster than any injury or play-calling issue. Think about it. When your players don't believe in the coach, the game plan, or even the direction of the organization, you're already fighting a losing battle. It's not just about X's and O's anymore. It's about culture, communication, and confidence. And right now, the Dolphins seem to be lacking all three. The locker room, once seen as tight-knit and full of swagger, reportedly feels fractured. There's talk that players aren't seeing eye to eye with McDaniel or even trusting Tua to lead them out of this funk. And that's where it really gets tough. Because once you lose the locker room, it's almost impossible to get it back. You can sense that frustration in the fan base too. Dolphins fans were promised something different when McDaniel arrived. He was supposed to be the genius, the offensive mastermind, the guy who'd unlock Tua's full potential and bring a new era of success to Miami. And to his credit, there were flashes of that, the high-octane offense, the creativity, the fun energy. But lately, it's all felt stale, predictable. Almost like the league has caught up to his scheme, and he hasn't found the next adjustment. That's where great coaches separate themselves. When the system stops working, can you evolve? Can you find new ways to win? Right now, the answer in Miami seems to be no. Still, Ross's stance makes sense from a business perspective. You don't extend a guy 1 year and fire him the next unless things have completely imploded. It would send a message of instability to players, fans, and potential coaching candidates in the future. Stability, even if it's a shaky kind, is sometimes seen as better than chaos. But that doesn't mean this leash is infinite. If the Dolphins lose another big game, especially to a team like the Browns this Sunday, that could be the moment where the internal conversation shifts. It might not happen immediately, maybe not this week, maybe not even this month, but momentum builds fast in the NFL, and the Fire McDaniel drumbeat is only going to get louder. There's also the question of what happens next. If Ross does eventually decide to move on, who steps in? Do they go after a proven winner, someone like Bill Belichick if he's available next year? Do they take another swing at a young offensive mind? Or do they finally admit that the core of this roster might not be the right mix, and that a deeper rebuild is needed? These are questions that could define not just the next season, but the next decade of Dolphins football. And here's the thing. For all of McDaniel's flaws, he's not the only problem. The Dolphins have been spinning their wheels for decades now, going through coaches, quarterbacks, and front office changes like it's a revolving door. There's been no consistent vision, no long-term identity. 1 year they're a defensive team, the next they're chasing offensive innovation. One season it's all about developing Tua, the next it's about whether they should trade for someone new. That inconsistency is a reflection of ownership as much as coaching. And if Stephen Ross wants this franchise to finally reach the next level, he's going to have to make some tough decisions, not just about McDaniel, but about the entire structure of his organization. Fans are tired. They've seen this movie before. The hot start, the mid-season collapse, the rumors, the reports, the finger-pointing. Every year it's something new, but somehow exactly the same. And while Ross may not be ready to make a move right now, the pressure cooker is building. You can feel it. Every loss adds a little more heat. Every disappointing Sunday pushes the timeline closer to an inevitable breaking point. So yeah, as of today, Mike McDaniel's job is safe. But the winds in the NFL change fast, and loyalty only goes so far when the results don't follow. A loss to Cleveland this weekend could very well be the domino that starts the chain reaction. Maybe it happens next week. Maybe in December. Maybe after Week 18. But one way or another, the writing is starting to appear on the wall. And for a fan base desperate for a spark, desperate for something to believe in, that change might be the only thing that finally brings hope back to South Beach. For now, though, the message from the top is clear. Stephen Ross isn't ready to fire Mike McDaniel. He's sticking with him, for better or worse, and hoping that the team can somehow turn this thing around before it's too late. But as history has shown us, hope without results only lasts so long. The clock is ticking in Miami, and if things don't improve fast, that patience could run out quicker than anyone expects. Still with us? Then show some love. Hit that like button and let us know in the comments. What's your take on the Fins this week? The atmosphere at the Miami Dolphins facility has reportedly shifted from tense to combustible, and insiders are buzzing with talk of a scene that has everyone in the league whispering. According to multiple sources, a recent team meeting escalated into a full-on showdown, with head coach Mike McDaniel and quarterback Tua Tagovailoa, or is it now the emerging rumors swirling around GRIER, being publicly confronted by none other than Ross, whose role has suddenly taken on a more assertive edge. The phrase, "no more excuses," reportedly echoed through the locker room, and according to sources, it was delivered with a combination of fury, frustration, and a sense that patience had finally run its course. This is not your typical motivational speech, people. We're talking about a blunt, almost confrontational tone that sent ripples through a team that, until now, has seemed united but occasionally hesitant under pressure. The Dolphins have had their moments of brilliance, sure, but there has been a recurring narrative of inconsistency, missed opportunities, and, let's be honest, moments where accountability seemed to evaporate. And apparently, Ross isn't willing to let that slide any longer. Inside the meeting room, the scene reportedly unfolded with Ross locking eyes with McDaniel first. Eyewitnesses say the energy in the room shifted the moment Ross began speaking, commanding attention in a way that no typical executive would dare. There were no sugar-coated comments, no soft nudges toward better performance, just a direct, pointed message. Enough with the excuses. According to insiders, McDaniel, known for his calm demeanor and cerebral approach to coaching, was visibly taken aback. Not because he didn't expect accountability. After all, coaching in the NFL always comes with pressure, but because Ross's delivery left little room for nuance or deflection. It was reportedly a moment where the chain of command was clearly asserted and any ambiguity about expectations evaporated instantly. And then came the part that has everyone in Miami talking. GRIER, or in some reports, the broader quarterback room, including Tua, was also directly addressed. The implication, according to sources, was clear. Leadership doesn't just come from the sidelines. It also comes from those on the field, and if performance, consistency, and focus are lacking, the entire team suffers. The energy in that room, people close to the situation say, could be described as electric, tense, and just a hair away from eruption. Some players reportedly exchanged looks of surprise, others of quiet resolve, but no one walked away untouched. The ripple effects of this confrontation are already being felt across the Dolphins ecosystem. Rumors have emerged that locker room dynamics are shifting, and whispers about player leadership and accountability are becoming louder. Some insiders hint that Ross's message was specifically crafted to spark a turning point, to jolt both coaching staff and players out of any lingering complacency. There's talk that the "no more excuses" line was less about a single failing and more about a cumulative assessment of several games where opportunities were squandered, strategic choices fell flat, or mental lapses allowed opponents to dominate in critical moments. There's a sense, according to those following the team closely, that Ross is demanding a cultural reset, a move that signals to everyone involved that the luxury of mediocrity is over and the expectation is nothing short of excellence. The Dolphins are a team with undeniable talent, but talent alone doesn't win consistently in the NFL, and apparently Ross is determined that both players and coaches fully internalize that reality. Another layer to the story comes from how this confrontation might impact McDaniel's approach moving forward. Known for his methodical planning and offensive creativity, McDaniel has often been praised for his innovative schemes and his ability to develop young talent. But innovation only works when execution matches design, and sources suggest that Ross's intervention was a direct response to moments where execution fell short and excuses were offered instead of accountability. There are whispers that McDaniel is now reconsidering how he communicates with his team, how he motivates his players, and even how he manages the quarterback room, especially with GRIER's growing presence and influence. Some believe this confrontation could spark a new chapter of collaboration, where tough love and candid accountability push the Dolphins to reach levels previously unachieved. Others are less optimistic, suggesting that public confrontations can sometimes fracture trust, and that the intense spotlight on McDaniel and the quarterback room could produce tension that lingers longer than intended. Meanwhile, the players' reactions are generating their own buzz. Reports suggest that some veterans appreciated the clarity and blunt honesty, seeing Ross's approach as a necessary wake-up call. On the other hand, younger players, or those still finding their footing within the team's hierarchy, might be navigating mixed emotions, ranging from inspired determination to cautious apprehension. The quarterback room, a critical focal point given the team's offensive ambitions, is reportedly under heightened scrutiny. GRIER, who has been developing a reputation for composure and adaptability, is said to have taken the confrontation seriously, possibly even using it as motivation to refine his decision-making and leadership presence on the field. Observers inside the organization are closely watching how these dynamics evolve, understanding that this moment, whether seen as a turning point or a flashpoint, could significantly influence not just individual performance, but the cohesion and trajectory of the Dolphins as a whole. Off the field, the implications are also fueling discussions among fans and analysts. Social media is abuzz with speculation, and even casual observers are picking up on the narrative of a team at a crossroads. Some commentators are framing it as a classic power move by management to shake complacency out of the system, while others are pointing to the potential for this confrontation to reshape the Dolphins' identity. There's a sense, particularly among the most vocal followers, that Ross's actions were about more than just a single meeting. They represent a statement of intent, a loud declaration that the organization is unwilling to settle for anything less than full commitment and and performance. And when it comes to the NFL, where margins are razor-thin and the pressure never lets up, moments like this can define seasons, careers, and legacies. There are also murmurs about how opposing teams might respond. Coaches and analysts from other franchises reportedly view the situation with curiosity, knowing that a publicly called-out coaching staff and quarterback room could either galvanize the Dolphins into a dominant force or, if mishandled, create fissures that can be exploited. This has turned the story into a multi-layered chess match where every decision, both on the sidelines and in the locker room, is now under an intensified microscope. Even within the Dolphins' own personnel hierarchy, whispers suggest that discussions about accountability, performance metrics, and coaching strategy are being revisited with renewed urgency. The message seems to be clear. Mediocrity is no longer tolerated, excuses are out, and the time for results, cohesion, and clear leadership is now. What's particularly fascinating about this episode is the sheer energy and drama it has generated without a single play being contested. The confrontation is, in many ways, a microcosm of the high-stakes NFL world, where narratives are constantly being written, rewritten, and dissected. The "no more excuses" declaration, according to those present, was not just words. It was an event, a catalyst, a spark that has ignited conversations from the Dolphins' locker room to sports media outlets across the country. And while the immediate impact may be subtle, the long-term consequences could be monumental. How McDaniel recalibrates his strategy, how GRIER and the quarterback room respond, and how the team internalizes the message could very well dictate the Dolphins' success or expose lingering vulnerabilities. Even fans are now playing their part in the unfolding drama, taking to social media to debate the effectiveness of Ross's approach, dissect the tone and content of his message, and speculate about the ripple effects on team morale. There's a growing consensus among some that the confrontation was long overdue, that a team with the Dolphins' talent needed a wake-up call to match its potential. Meanwhile, others caution against overinterpreting the incident, reminding followers that football is ultimately played on the field, and that locker room confrontations, however dramatic, are only part of the larger equation. Yet the sheer intensity of the story, combined with insider confirmation of the "no more excuses" moment, has ensured that this episode will linger in conversations for weeks, if not months. It's the kind of story that feeds itself, where rumor, observation, and speculation intertwine, creating a narrative as compelling as any highlight reel or game-winning drive. As the Dolphins move forward, all eyes are on the next few practices, the upcoming games, and how the message delivered by Ross manifests on the field. Will the team rise to the challenge, embracing accountability and intensity, or will cracks appear under the pressure? Sources indicate that both McDaniel and GRIER are aware of the stakes, and that internal meetings, film sessions, and player briefings have taken on an added edge in the aftermath. The story is evolving, yes, but one thing seems certain: the era of excuses in Miami is, according to Ross, officially over. And if the past few days are any indication, this is only the beginning of a saga that could reshape the Dolphins' identity, redefine leadership within the team, and provide fans with the kind of drama that exists both on and off the field. Insiders say that this confrontation, while initially shocking to some, is now being viewed as a pivotal moment in the season. Analysts are already framing it as a turning point, a dramatic inflection in the Dolphins' pursuit of excellence. The story has everything: tension, drama, high-profile personalities, and a declaration that resonates far beyond the walls of a single locker room. And as the league watches, as fans speculate, and as players internalize the ultimatum, one thing is clear: Miami is no longer playing for excuses, they're playing for results. The fallout, the adjustments, and the potential transformation promise to be as compelling as any game. And for a team teetering on the edge of greatness, this may be the shakeup that finally pushes them over the top. That's a wrap for today's dive. If you're loving the content, share it with a fellow Dolphins fan, hit subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss a splash. Fins up.